The story of the Terrell Building, or Terrell Building, begins in 1963 when Central Piedmont Community College was founded. Central Piedmont Community College was housed in the Central High building, which back a long time ago was known as Old Central, and in later years known as Garinger Hall, and then was renamed to Central High. In the mid-1960s, CPCC realized that in order for the college to succeed, expansion was critical. In the late 1960s, the college began construction of several new buildings, including a library, a classroom building, and an administration building. These buildings were later known as the Hagemeyer Learning Resources Center, Mecklenburg Hall, later known as Van Avery Hall, and then later the VE building, and the administration building, which in the 1970s was expanded to 5 floors and known as the Edgar A. Terrell Administration Building. For many years, the Terrell Building has been called home to quite a few of the college's biggest offices, including the President's Office, Finances, Human Resources, and other core offices of the college. In later years, these offices moved out to different parts of campus in newer buildings, and this time, other divisions called this building home, including Information Technology Services. For many years, this building housed the core infrastructure of the college's information technology. Other divisions, such as Disability Services, the Veterans Center, the Information Technology Services Customer Service Help Desk, and faculty and staff offices called this building home. Now, after 50 years of service, the college is demolishing and replacing this building with a new Student Success Center. Join me as I head inside to tour this building, to look at its history, and to get a few last looks at this half-century-old building before it is no longer here. Sit back, relax, have a snack, and enjoy the video. Hey everybody, today is November 19th, 2018. I must say that right now is a busy time for Central Piedmont Community College as far as construction goes. Lots of new demolition projects will be starting very soon, including the Terrell Building. Next to that, through the trees, is the library, and over there the annex behind Central High is getting demolished. Today we're going to be focusing on the Terrell Building. This was built in 1968. The first 3 floors were built in 1968, and in the early 70s they expanded it to 5 floors. This was Central Piedmont Community College's first administration building as far as their expansion goes. Excuse the noise. This building was built with the design to where it could be expanded vertically as the college grew. With CPCC's first master plan, the first 3 floors were built up to where you see right here. And in 1971, the upper 2 floors were added on. This building used to house all the administration services, including the President's Office, Human Resources, the Cashier's Office, among other things. Today we're going to go inside and have a few last looks at this amazing building. It is getting demolished very soon. Demolition will begin next month. And for those of you who are interested in the elevator, we will get a final tour of it as well. However, in this video I'm focusing on the building itself. So now we're inside the lobby. So I'm going to mention again, with all the noise going, the building was originally built in 1968 as 3 floors, and in 1971 it was expanded to 5 floors as the college grew. This is the first floor. Straight ahead is the former ITS customer service help desk. And originally, I believe this was the cashier's office. There's not too much to see on this floor. You have this 1968 Dover traction elevator that's been modernized. Stairway. Over there is a door to access his different offices on the first floor. And out there is the entrance. Okay, everybody, we are now in room 107. This was the former ITS help desk for the college's Information Technology Services Department. This room was originally, I believe, the cashier's office. So go ahead and have a look around. And of course, you have to pardon the mess. They are currently moving stuff out. And I did have permission to come in here. I was escorted in here. I used to work in ITS at this college, and I used to work in this exact office here. So it's, you have to imagine, it is a bit, you know, it is kind of tough to see this place go. You can see here, under a clue, that this used to be the cashier's office. Room 104 was marked as Manager of Financial Services. This was actually used as a conference room. Have a look inside, there's not really anything in here. Just a little bit of furniture, that's all. Another clue right here. Room 106 was originally at one point the director's office for payroll, budgets, accounting, and reports. And if that wasn't enough to clue you in, to the left here we have a big vault. Now we're in room 100. This is another part of the ITS floor. They used to have more ITS offices back in this area. Not certain what this was used for originally. I'd imagine maybe something to do with accounting and reports, something like that. May have been back here since the cashier's office used to be in 107, I do believe. One thing you'll notice about this floor is you don't get much of a view outside. You have these windows up top, and that's about it. Yeah, I definitely can say that this probably was not the most desirable floor to work in this building for many people. Because personally, I like to have a nice view outside, and this floor just does not really offer it. If you haven't noticed already, this building sits on a hill, so just below these windows is the ground. And this will be the last time that we'll get to look through these windows and see the nice fall foliage in the background. What was once a very busy help desk is now silent. It is stuck in here in the back of my mind. Thank you for calling the ITS help desk. This is Nick speaking. How can I help you today? On this floor, we have an extra stairway that leads you up to the second floor. Gonna walk up to the second floor. Now movers are in the process of moving things out of this building. Straight ahead to the right was the Bank of America Center for Military Families and Veterans office. Now for the most part, this building has not really seen much of any renovation work. It's still mostly original. So here's the second floor, which leads you to an access door. This building sits on a hill, so on the west side you enter on the first floor, and on the east side you enter on this second floor. There's a painting of Edgar A. Terrell Jr., which this building was named after. We'll get a look from here. This was again the Center for Military Families and Veterans. This area received a light renovation in, I think, 2015. So pretty much everybody has already moved out of this building, with the exception of some staff on the 5th floor. Straight ahead to the right was formerly the Disability Services office, which they have, again, they moved. Now we're going to go to the 3rd floor. And get a look around. I don't think I've ever shot video of the stairway of this building. So I figured now would be a good time to do it. Have a look at the walls, how they're done. This stairway smells like an old antique refrigerator. It has that musty smell to it. There's a look all the way up. So now we're at the 3rd floor, which used to be the President's office area. Now, in the early 2000s, the President's office and stuff moved out to a different area of campus. And this floor was pretty much repurposed as faculty and staff offices. You may be wondering, why is the college replacing this building and not renovating it? Well, You wouldn't really be able to notice it from the outside, but this building has had some issues with plumbing, electrical, stuff like that. You may notice how this ceiling is newer than what we've seen thus far. From my knowledge, what happened here a few years ago had a massive water leak that damaged the original ceiling, which is why we had this newer ceiling here. The original ceiling is down there, and just like the Crack building, instead of having your typical 2 foot by 2 foot squares or 2 foot by 4 foot rectangular sections, you had 5 foot squares, or 5 foot modules. Here's a good example right here in this office. There's only just a little bit of furniture left in here. This was room 308. All done this way. We have this little area here. This is facing toward the Overcash building, and you can see some more leak spots on the ceiling. The 4th floor was the most effective floor. Now of course this floor did have some issues too, but it is now a 50-year-old building. Here's another office. This was room 316. As I walk down this hallway, have a look here. We have a men's and women's restroom on the right. Here's a totally empty office. The offices in this building were pretty small. You can see the drop ceiling was totally replaced in this office. I wonder why. There's another sign right there. Straight ahead is the old Hunter building, and next to that is what they're getting ready to demolish. The VA and old ceramics annex. Matter of fact, looks like they already started doing some demolition to it. We continue straight ahead. We will enter the area, which there's the lobby area again. Pretty typical design of this building for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th floors. Now remember I pointed out we had some bathrooms on the right side, but get this. We have 2 more bathrooms on the side right over here. It's the only floor that has this, I do believe. And these, I believe, were single stall restrooms. We are in the former president's suite. Right there's a break room. As we move straight ahead, you'll notice some of these offices look a little bit different than the rest. We'll just wait, it gets better. Straight ahead is what I believe was the former president's office, where CPCC's president used to work out of. These offices, I believe, were for like administrative assistants. Here we're at room 329. And as we walk in, you'll notice the ceiling looks totally different. We have your typical 2 foot by 2 foot square ceiling tiles, louvered lights. This was renovated at some point, I believe. Now don't quote me on this, but I believe this was probably the office to the assistant to the president. Straight ahead through the window is the old library, also built in 1968. It's also going away very soon. Look at that. Old floppy diskette just chilling out on the bench here. And here we are at room 300. This is recently it was used as a conference room, but with all the renovation work you see in here, it's pretty obvious what this was. This was the president's office. Big table. Yeah, look at these old photos of the Maracas campus and City View Center. Now, Maracas campus, when it originally opened, it was just called the North Center. This is up in Huntersville. Straight over there is the new North Classroom Building. It's replacing Crad Hall, which they have made a lot of progress on that building since the construction started last year. Off. Leave this the way I found it. This door was wide open when I came here, so I'm going to leave it as it is. And through here is just offices. Nothing too special to see. For some odd reason, this building does have a second stairway right here. It only accesses second, third, fourth, and fifth floors. But Let that close back up. Here's something interesting. Here's inside room 3 and 4, which is just a windowless office. And if you look carefully, you can see light coming in from the other office. Yeah, the ceiling this building uses is something I've never seen outside of these vintage buildings at Central Piedmont Community College. Now that's a newer style ceiling there, but if we go back over here, I have never seen this style ceiling before outside of a vintage CPCC building. I think at one point Central High even had this ceiling as well. So for today, this concludes my tour, because the 5th floor is still in use by staff, and right now the 4th floor you can't really access it. So we'll get a few more looks around here on the 3rd floor. Yeah guys, there's your clock that's not running anymore. The time is definitely running out for this vintage building. And we'll get a ride on this elevator, known on my channel as the Terrell Elevator. Old modernized Dover. Got a slap-on mod in the 90s or late 80s, and then early 2000s it got its controller and drive replaced. This used to be relay controlled. Still has its original machine. Look out from here. Now this ceiling here, I'm not sure if this was put in at some point. I'd imagine this floor probably had the same ceiling as the rest of the building has. Okay, everybody, today is November 21st, 2018, and we're on the 5th floor of this rail building. It's later in the evening and I think everybody here has left. It's really quiet up here. All the offices are locked. There are still staff up in this area, so I'm not going to be able to get you in the offices up here, but we will get this conference room down here. So let's take a look around. So currently, or at least as of now, this floor is primarily occupied, I believe, by the Business and Accounting Division. I think we also had a dean up here and some other faculty and staff. There's the directory. So you essentially have 2 long hallways. I question if this floor has seen much of any renovation work at all. I mean, like painting and redoing a floor and stuff like that. I don't think it's seen all that much. So as of right now, as mentioned, Business Administration Division, some faculty and staff. Also some faculty and staff from the 3rd floor of this building moved up here temporarily. So this is part of the 1971 edition of this building. It looks almost identical to the 1968 portion. Look at the old exit sign. It's pretty cool. Oh, that's original. Something pretty interesting to note about this little area here in the college's archives is a photo from 1997 with CPCC's Richard Zollinger standing right in front of the elevator with the wheelbarrow because he's getting ready to bury the quarterly system. It's from 1997. That was when I had seen the photo was from. It was when the college got rid of its quarterly system and went to a semester-based schedule. I'm not 100% certain on what this floor was originally used for in this building's earlier days, but I think human resources used to be up here on this floor, probably along with other departments, other administrative departments. Here's a look down this little hallway. One thing you may notice is how skinny the hallways are in this building. They're not wide at all. I mean, look at the tiles on the floor. Those tiles there, I think, are 1 foot square. And as I mentioned earlier, the ceiling in this building has 5 foot square modules in it. So that's about right, 5 feet across. As mentioned, these offices are still occupied by college staff, so I can't get you any office views up on this floor, but it's practically the same as the 3rd floor. But we will, however, get a view from this conference room. I think this is probably the biggest conference room in this whole building. Let's get some lights on. Looks like someone left their shoes in here. There's a few minor differences about the 1971 edition, which is the 4th and 5th floor, versus the original 1968 portion, and that's the original ceiling panels are a little different, but overall it's really practically the same. This is a good look at this ceiling. Again, as I mentioned earlier in this video, I've never seen this style of drop ceiling outside of a vintage CPCC building. See, this building has it, the Pratt building had it, the Van Avery building had it. Back some time ago, I think Central High had it for a while, and possibly some other vintage buildings that are on this campus probably had it before renovation. This is the final building on this campus that had this ceiling, and after this, that's it. Here you can see that they've had a hard time finding the right size ceiling panels for these sections here. So what they had to do is literally grab some 2 foot by 4 foot sections and cut them to fit, and you can see the gaps that are left because of that. Yeah, the 5th floor wasn't exactly immune from ceiling leaks either. Old TV and VCR. And if the old TV and VCR wasn't enough, there's you a vintage overhead projector. I'll never forget all the years in school with these getting used. And of course, as technology moved on, they got replaced with these, and I see somebody left this one on. Will you look at that? That thing is running. Yeah, somebody forgot to turn that thing off, and yeah. It's one of those bulbs are not cheap. Here's a few looks from this floor. Tree's kind of in the way there. And I think some of the windows in this building had a tinting on them, because you may be able to see kind of giving a ripple effect there. Let's get a look from the corner over here. Here you can see that tint. Kind of blurs up the view. There's the library. And look at this little green space they have behind the library. There's another look at the new North Classroom building construction. Building is absolutely huge. Yeah, that clock is completely gone. Another thing about this building's ceilings you may notice is the lack of air diffusers. When I was observing the demolition of Pratt, I noticed that the way these older buildings here, at least how the HVAC worked, was you had ducts that run up inside the plenum that would blow fresh air into the plenum, and it would actually vent through these little vents you see beside the lights. Now there are some areas in this building where they do have actual like diffusers, but most of those are in areas where the ceiling has been completely replaced. Well guys, I think that sums up for the 5th floor. Yeah, this is room 500. There's another conference room down on the right, but it's locked. Okay, day is November 27th. We're back in the Terrell building, back on the 2nd floor. The former Veterans Center and Disability Services offices are open today. So we'll do a little walkthrough of these offices. This is the Veterans Center, or was the Veterans Center. It was renovated back in 2015. I think the Veterans Center Department received a grant that funded the renovation work, and it's a very basic renovation. You can see they've redone the ceiling a little bit. They took out the original 5-foot square modules and just worked in a ceiling grid into place. Repainted the walls, new carpet, stuff like that. This was the waiting area. Here's a look out the windows towards Central High. Here's another area right here where they used to sometimes have popcorn and stuff like that, snacks, I think. Straight back here are some offices, and the Veterans Center computer lab used to be on the left here. Forget what room this was. They took the thing off the door. One thing I find rather interesting about this building is a lot of these storage rooms have windows in them. Storage closets, yeah, they have windows. To our right here is another small lab. It's interesting to note that this building seems to have several different types of drop ceiling in it. You have the original 5-foot by 5-foot square module ceiling for 1968 and 1971, and you have areas like this where they had done renovations, and you have your standard rectangle shaped 2 by 4 foot ceiling tiles, or other areas where you have the 2-foot by 2-foot squares. Look at the soda bottles just chilling out. Straight ahead are the Veteran Center offices, which everybody's gone. These are pretty much empty, with the exception of just a little bit of furniture and things like that. You can see the renovation work gave it a minor facelift. Still have some photos up here on the wall. Here's something funny. Have a look at the exit sign. You remember when, just like it from the third floor, they left it in place when they did the renovation work. However, they put it in backwards. I remember when they had just renovated this area, and it was, when they put it back in, they put it back in backwards. You see the exit area is facing to the right when the exit is actually to the left. Another storage room with a window. Here's one of the eastern facing offices. This was room 224. One of the last times we get to look out these windows and see the fall foliage. I tell you, this college has some beautiful trees. Straight ahead are two offices. What's funny is, to get to the second office, you must enter through the first office. Some funny quirks about this building, I'll tell you. I could go out the other way, but I need to go back out this way because there's a few lights I need to turn off that I turned on for this little video segment. I'm going to leave everything just the way I found it. And just like in the crap building, we have these old 1970s stickers over the light switches to encourage people to turn off lights when not used to save energy. You know, back in the 1970s, I think that was the time they were going through the energy crisis. So please turn off lights when not used to conserve energy. Interesting. Yeah, that office, the light was on. I'm going to leave it just the way I found it. Here's some windows that seem to be in better condition than others in this building. So aside from a select few people working on the 5th floor of this building, which are moving out this week, the only real visitors to Terrell are here to visit the vending machines, which are still in service. Now let's go take a look at the Disability Services office, the former Disability Services office. Now I have no idea how long this office has been here, but I think it's been here for quite some time. This area has not really received much renovation work other than probably some repaintings and new carpet and stuff like that. We still have the original ceiling from 1968. There was a former receptionist desk. All around you had offices where disability counselors used to work. Just get over look around. And it's kind of a mess in this area. There's furniture and boxes and stuff everywhere. The department's already moved out, but there's still some stuff left over. It's kind of similar to how Krat was. There was a lot of furniture left over. I remember when they first started demolishing Krat, when they started doing the asbestos abatement, there was like a whole mountain of desks and chairs and stuff out back where they just cleaned out house. Here's an office I've been to many times. Back when I used to work with IT. Yeah, I'm not showing the floor. At least not till here anyway. Here's another office facing toward the Overcash building. All that's heard is just the faint noise of all the commotion outside, all the traffic on Elizabeth Avenue. Straight ahead is a accessible restroom, which I believe was retrofitted in at some point. This building, being as old as it is, isn't really, in some aspects, it's not very, I guess you can say ADA compliant. To the right here are the original restrooms, which are still, of course, usable, but they added this here for those who are disabled. See, this building has ADA accessible restrooms on this floor and the 5th floor. Right next door is another office. And a lamp just chilling out on the desk there. Straight ahead are some more offices, and of course the restrooms, break room. Here's another office, room 202. And there's Central High. Another old exit sign. And it's pretty dark back here actually. The camera is probably overcompensating for exactly the real brightness in here. It's pretty dark. Another old exit sign, and as you can see, it's facing the right direction. And there is an access point for the college's Wi-Fi. So I'm going to leave this the way I found it. These lights were already on when I came here. Here's a look out this way. It's funny, there's still some flyers in there too. An old clock. Yeah guys, the time is ticking on Terrell. The time is running out on this 50-year-old building. Okay everybody, today is November 29th and we are on the 4th floor of the Terrell building. And unfortunately this floor is still locked. You cannot access it. But I figured since I'm here I'll get you a quick view of the lobby area. This was formerly the Information Technology Services Administrative Offices. They used to be up here on this floor. And that's why it is such a secured area, or was a secured area. When we look through the window, we can see a couple of offices. And on the other side, pretty much the same thing. There was a conference room right there. It's mostly just offices. The conference room, and at one time the college's data center used to be up here on this floor before it moved out years ago. So unless I'm able to get escorted in here, this is gonna be it for the 4th floor, unfortunately. Well guys, I think this is it. I hope you guys enjoyed the tour of this amazing building. Yeah, the CPCC Terrell Administration Building. Built in 1968 when the college first expanded out of Central High. Back then it was known as Old Central. And in 1971 with the second master plan, along with the construction of buildings like Pratt Hall and other buildings, this building got expanded to 5 floors. For 50 years, half a century, this building has been on Central Campus. But it looks like the sun has finally set on the Terrell building. Demolition will begin very soon, and they'll be replacing this building with a new Student Success Center. It may not be exactly in the same spot as this building, but supposedly it's going to be right in the vicinity of Central High. And also, that building over there, the library, Learning and Resources Center, is also going away very soon. I look forward to hopefully getting to do a final tour of it as well. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.